Hey, what's up, everybody? It is time for the Dynasty Owner Podcast. I'm Steve Van Tassel. I'm on Twitter at SteveVT33, and I'm here with Jay Pounds. What's up, Jay?
Hey, what's up, Steve? How you doing today?
Good. Give everybody your Twitter handle.
All right, at J Pounds NFL.
All right, very good. You got to get that right out at the beginning, man. Don't want people to
Yeah.
miss it. So, anyways, and we're here with the Dynasty Owner Podcast. And if you're listening, probably you're a Dynasty Owner already. If you're not, please join. It's www.dynastyowner.com. You can follow Dynasty Owner on Twitter. It's dynasty_owner. And you can also follow us on Facebook, where we post the videos we post the audio for this recording, the podcast, and some videos and other things that they're also on Twitter. But if you're more of a Facebook type of person, you could do that. And I know we're on Instagram, but I'm too old to be on Instagram, so I'm not. They don't allow me. I can't make an account. I think they have an age limit. So, but if you're young, you can join Instagram and check us out on that too. Jay should be telling us about Instagram. You're allowed to do that, right?
I probably am, but I actually do not have one.
Okay. Well,
Not a
we got to
platform. Not a
we got to
platform I
get on.
cared for.
Okay, we got to get on that. Anyway, so thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Like I said, this is the Dynasty Owner Podcast. And if you're not familiar with Dynasty Owner, if you're just kind of, it's getting towards the end of August, you're just kind of starting to think about fantasy football and you want to join a Dynasty League, we are Dynasty Fantasy Football with a salary cap. So we use real NFL contracts and salaries. This is the only place that you can play fantasy football with real NFL contracts and salaries. The Dynasty Owner actually has a U.S. patent on this, believe it or not. They have like 4 of them. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't explain this, but they have like 4. So nowhere else can you play with real NFL contracts and salaries except for Dynasty Owner. And so to do that, we have a salary cap. So our salary cap is 70% of the NFL salary cap, which this year is $208.2 million. So it means our salary cap is $145.74 million. And you get players for their contract. You can keep your player for forever if you want, but you have to keep paying them their contracts. For example, I drafted Patrick Mahomes back in 2020. His salary was $4.1 million. I was super excited about that. Thought he'd take my team to a title the first year with that salary, and then I'd worry about it the second year. Didn't win the title, and his salary went to $45 million. I kept him, but it makes it harder to build a team around Patrick Mahomes when he's getting paid $45 million a year. It's kind of like what the Chiefs GM in front office has to deal with. It's the same sort of thing. So that's what Dynasty Owner is. And we have 25 man rosters. We have a minimum up to 30. We have an injured reserve list of 3 players. We have starters and we have bench. And most places you think of your bench as the guys who don't get you points. Not in Dynasty Owner. Those guys get you points. We have starters, bench, and practice squad. Practice squad are just guys to fill out your roster. Your bench players get 25% of their points. So if the guys on your bench score 80 points in a week, you get 25% of that, which is 20. Math. I'm good at math, just to let you know. You get 20 extra points. And Jay didn't even laugh at that one, so I don't know what I was doing it for. You get 20 extra points. Thank you, Jay. You get 20 extra points added to your team, to your starters for your bench. And so bench can make the difference between winning and losing a lot of times. And sometimes now you watch Monday Night Football and you'll be like, oh, I got this guy on my bench and I'm only down by 3. So all I need for him to do is score 12 points. If it's a running back, you need like 70 yards and a touchdown, and you can win your game. It's really awesome. It puts more players it makes more players factor into your matchup. It makes your team depth much more important. So you have to actually dig into some of the lesser owned players or guys on bad teams who might play well. It broadens your experience, I think. So what else did I miss anything, Jay?
No, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Just make sure you go try it. If you guys are new, it's a lot of fun, and I think once you kind of dig into it, you'll really understand it and find out how easy it is to navigate through the platform and all that.
Yeah, because you can mock draft, and I know some people are thinking, oh, I got to keep track of salaries and players and positions and bye weeks and stuff like that. And the salaries, we take care of that. When you mock draft, there's a screen that pops up. It's all over the place that tells you how much you spent in salaries. So you don't have to worry about adding up all the numbers and figuring out who you want to draft. It's there for you. So, and if you do want to join, and you have maybe a buddy of yours told you about Dynasty Owner, and you won't just start listening to us or something, have your friend get their promo code. They have a referral link. If they're a Dynasty Owner, everybody who plays Dynasty Owner has a referral link, and if they send it to you and you're new, and you join using that referral link, you'll get $10 off your first a new team. So when you join, you get $10 off. Instead of $39 for a team, it's $29. And then you can play in $50 cash leagues, $100 cash leagues, or free for the love of the game leagues. And even in the love of the game leagues, you win Dynasty dollars, which you can use towards improving your team. And you get, I think, $12 million now in Dynasty dollars. I forget the number. I think it's 10 or 12 in Dynasty dollars that you can use for free agents. And you get an amnesty provision, which is worth 5 million Dynasty dollars. So you get value for your money. And then if you're in a cash league and you win or come in second or third, you win money. So, and if you're a current Dynasty owner and you have a buddy, friend, girlfriend, wife, coworker, whatever you have, and they want to join, give me your referral link. If they join, they get $10 off and you get $10. And it's not 10 Dynasty dollars or a $10 credit. It's $10. Like, I guess you can take it in PayPal and have it sent to you and take that $10, or you can put it towards Dynasty dollars, whatever you want. And then what I think is the best part, if you know a ton of people who like fantasy football but aren't on Dynasty Owner, and you get 10 of them to join, you get a free team for life. So for somebody who's old like me, it's not that it'll be worth it. I'll get my money's worth. But like if you're like 25, 30, if you're like Jay's age or like even younger, you get a free team for life. You can have this team for 50 years if you wanted to.
Yeah,
and you get it for free.
It's an excellent deal. I mean, there's really nowhere else you're gonna get something like that.
No,
Just for inviting your buddies to join a league with you. That's really all it takes. If you find 10, 11 buddies to start a league with, and you instantly have a free team for life with your buddies. That you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, and if you do that, exactly, you can. If you have 10 friends who want to join, 11 friends, and yourself, you get 12. You can have your own league or special created. You can send an email to commish@dynastyowner.com and tell them, and they'll set up a time, a date, everything for you. And I forgot that at the beginning. You don't even have to be a commissioner. If you're the guy who organizes your friends and everything, but you hate being the commissioner because it stinks and you have to collect money and make rulings that nobody likes and things like that, don't have to do it at Dynasty Owner. We have people who actually do it. Jay's one of the people who actually does it.
Yeah.
I'm not, because that's not good. But like we have Nick, our head commissioner, and they make all the rulings. So like, it's great. You don't have to worry about that. Team State collects all the money. You just play. You just draft and play, and you don't have to worry about. You don't have to take an hour out of your life like every Tuesday to like referee like who gets the free agent auction bids or the waiver claims or the whatever bidding system you use. It's all one system. And they do it, and you don't have to worry about it. So all you can do is focus on your team.
Yeah, and mentioning team stake, if you invite 10 of your buddies to this league, you get $100, which means that first team stake year is free. Or if you do a $50 league, you get your first 2 years free. So depending on how you look at it.
I didn't even think of that. That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, because then if you win some money the first couple of years, you've made money already.
Yeah.
That's a good way to spend your referral money. I didn't even think of that. So cool. And then the last thing about the referrals is even if you put down like 10 buddies and friends and coworkers and like 2-3 of them join and the rest don't, you get $1 million Dynasty dollars per referral. So if you know somebody who's even thinking about it, just send them the referral, because they'll start to learn about Dynasty and get emails from us, and you'll get $1 million Dynasty dollars, which you could bid on for a player that we're going to start talking about in a little bit. You can get a player who might help you take you to a championship. Like last year, you probably could have bid $1 million Dynasty dollars on Cordarrelle Patterson right before the season, and he could have probably helped you win a title.
Yeah, Hunter Renfrow at one point, I believe you could have paid $1 million Dynasty dollars for. So
this. Jay knows all of this because he does the free agent auction targets article for us every week during the season, and so Jay knows who to pick up, who's available, who you need to grab. So when the season starts, he'll start getting into that. But yeah, so Jay knows all these things. So listen, his voice, when you talk about free agent auction targets, listen to his voice. Don't listen to mine. So, all right. And the last thing before we get to the good stuff, what we're going to talk about today, which is we're going to talk about some news and players who are starting to pick up and people who we think we need to grab on the waiver wire. And then if we have time, we'll start talking about players who we're kind of concerned about, because I've got one I'm getting concerned about. But the last thing is the Justin Jefferson signed jersey contest, which I've entered. Jay, you've entered, right?
No, I have not actually. I didn't know that we were allowed.
Oh,
So
well,
yeah,
we might not.
yeah,
I
I'll get
know we
in.
might not be allowed, but I joined it anyways. So
Okay, well,
I was
I'm
help
gonna jump.
testing. I was testing it anyway, so I might be forbidden, but that's okay. I don't care. I mean, hey, maybe I can get a mini jersey and give it to Shane.
There
I
you
don't
go.
know, my son. But if you're not Jay and I, www.dynastyowner.com/contest, or it's probably on the front page of the website. If you sign up, you give them your name and email address, you get an entry. If you follow Dynasty Owner on Twitter, you get another entry. So 2 entries. Follow us on YouTube, the channel, so you can watch the Wednesday live stream or all the videos that we have about how to play Dynasty Owner. 2 more. That's 4. I got 4 fingers up. You subscribe to this podcast. Even if you already subscribed, you can just resubscribe on Spotify. 3. So you get 7 entries. And then we have a new Champions podcast with the 3 Chase for the Ring champions, where they talk about Dynasty Owner and what they're doing and learn all about it from people who have been the best Dynasty Owner each of the last 3 years. The 3 winners, the best of the best. 3 more entries. You could get 10 entries into this contest to win a signed Justin Jefferson jersey.
Yeah, you can't beat that. Make sure you guys get out there and do that, because this autograph could turn out to be legendary after it's all said and done. After the start he's had his career. So yeah, you definitely don't want to miss out on this one.
Yes. Oh, by the way, and if I win it, I already said what I'm going to do. Did you see what I said on Twitter? What I'm going to do with it if I win the contest?
No, I didn't. What was
I'm
that?
going to offer it to Jeff, the champ, for his ring.
There you go. He might do that.
Give Jeff a Sophie's Choice situation there. So, anyway, so that's a great promo. I mean, anybody can win. You don't have to be currently a Dynasty owner. You just have to register. I mean, if you are a Dynasty owner and you follow, I mean, you could just give them your name and email and get 1 entry, or do all the other things and get 10 entries. So it's a great deal. No cost, anything. Entries are due by September 7th. And there's 1 winner, no second prize, no second place or anything. Just 1 person wins. So that's an awesome gift. That's an awesome prize. Awesome contest. So can't say anything more about that. So, all right. So let's get into it, Jay. So the first thing we were going to talk about is Green Bay. And most of the attention so far this year, I think, has been on like the wide receivers. They've been talking about Aaron Rodgers, talk about the rookies, unhappy with them. Christian Watson's been injured and stuff like that. But then I think it was yesterday or the other day, Matt LaFleur comes out and says that Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are 1A and 1A. And I don't know, if you were, I've been saying this for a while, that I'd be worried about being a Aaron Jones owner. I own him in 1 non-dynasty owner league, but I'm okay with that because it's a dynasty and I've got others. But if you're a dynasty owner, Aaron Jones is $12 million. And A.J. Dillon is, under 2?
Yeah.
I can't even remember. His salary is like under 2.
I think it's
under
1.8, I think.
Okay, 1.8 million. So, yeah. So, I mean, you're just talking about such a huge difference. 1.3.
1.3, wow.
1.32 million. Yeah. So, I mean, and Aaron Jones and that's for 2 more years. Meanwhile, if you've got Aaron Jones, you've got a $12 million 3-year contract that you're tethered to. Now, you can get rid of him with the amnesty provision, which costs $5 million dynasty dollars, or you can drop him if you don't have it, which is the $36 million, a quarter of that. That's $9 million dynasty dollars. That's a lot. You could keep him and hope that the A plus and Dillon's the A minus. But What do you think of this?
Um, funny that this came up. So when we were at the expo. I snuck away for a little bit and I went and watched one of the panels, and it was the Roto World guys talking, and this was the first question that popped up whenever I walked in the room, and I kind of agree with what they were saying. I'm not too worried about it on the Aaron Jones end for this season. Now, if you want to start talking about after 2022, that's a different story. But it just seems like for the last 4 years now going in, it's everybody fades Aaron Jones heading into the season. You know, he's a middle second round pick, and then every single year he finishes as a top 6 or 7 running back. And then Green Bay loses Devontae Adams. Yeah, AJ Dillon is there, but it just seems like such a big chunk of their offense is missing, and now we're fading them again. Um, so it's a tough one. I think he's going to have a good year. I like I said, if you want to start talking after 2022, then it gets a little sketchy to me there. But as far as this season's concerned, I think he's going to catch a lot of passes. I think you'll see a lot of formations with him and AJ Dillon on the field at the same time. So I don't know if maybe that's what he's meaning by the 1A. You're going to kind of see, maybe Jones lining up in the slot and Dillon in the backfield or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I know I know Aaron Jones is a trustworthy hand to Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to want him on the field a lot.
Okay. Okay. Well, what I don't know. I think that's good for like the regular dynasty, but in dynasty owner, you've got to think about that extra $10.7 million in salary, and that's what worries me. And I just looked up Aaron Jones because when you said he's finished his top 6, I'm like, he's went from 2019 he was RB3, 2020 he was RB5, last year he was RB10.
Yeah,
So
he missed a couple. Didn't he miss like 2 or 3 games
I think
last
he
year?
did. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, so that's understandable, but I don't like the trend line personally. And the other part of it, and the dynasty owner, you look at our dynasty owner ADP, and people are drafting Aaron Jones. His ADP is 39.9, which means you're getting him end of the third, beginning of the fourth round. I mean, if you've got a late, if you've got an early third round pick and you really want him, you got to jump on him, I would say.
Yeah.
But then you look at AJ Dillon, and I see his ADP is 50.3. And so that means Aaron Jones and his $10.7 million extra are going before AJ Dillon. And
Yeah, no, I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. If I'm
okay,
in a startup, I think I'm going Dillon over Jones. But as far as this year's concerned, I see Jones outperforming him. Now the value may not be there once you add the whole salary factor in, but I think if you want that consistent running back on your team, I think I would rather go with Jones. If you're not worried about price and you just want consistency and in your running back slot, I would go Jones. But overall, for the future and stuff, I would definitely go Dillon.
okay. Well, let me ask you a couple. Let's play a couple of follow-up questions here. Okay, because we're talking. It's probably not a binary choice between Dillon and Jones in dynasty owner because of the salary difference.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
okay, so I'll ask you. This is a pretty much a direct comparison. Joe Mixon or Aaron Jones. They both have the same contract, $12 million.
I gotta go Joe Mixon just because of the AJ Dillon presence. If AJ Dillon wasn't there, I would probably go Aaron Jones.
Okay. Aaron Jones or Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is $200,000, $12.2 million per year. Same 3 years.
Aaron Jones.
Okay.
It's
Dynasty
just
owners disagree. Dynasty owners disagree with you because Chubb's ADP is 28.6 and Jones is 39.9. Okay.
and I think isn't Chubb a couple years younger than Aaron Jones?
That I don't know. Let's look it up.
Like
27
two
Aaron
two
Jones.
years.
Chubb is 26.
Okay, so
I don't
not a
have.
whole lot, but there's a little bit of age difference. I
Mhm.
just for me, it's the pass catching for Aaron Jones with us being a
Okay.
PPR format. Chubb is a pure runner, excellent. He might be the best pure runner in the entire NFL, but he just doesn't catch many balls at all.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, and exactly like you said, we are a PPR, so you have to factor that in. It's not, other leagues. You're right. If it was a different type of league, like I'm in one standard league. I'm in one standard league, and yeah, I'd probably pick Jones. I'd probably pick Chubb over Jones in that league,
Yeah.
regardless of salary, just because, like you said, he runs the ball so much, and I'm not worried about losing the 1 point for the one reception he gets every week. Whereas with Jones, you might lose 4 points for the four
Yeah.
receptions he gets every week, and that's a big that's big. So okay, well, I just thought it was interesting. I mean, because people have been talking about this and saying that Dylan was going to overtake Jones or maybe not, and everything, but to have their coach basically say they're equal, and in a regular, this is why dynasty owner is different. In a regular dynasty league, you're talking, the way you're talking about value is people are drafting Aaron Jones. You're drafting Aaron Jones too early, and you're drafting AJ Dillon too late. You got to move that up a little bit. But for us, it's also salary. And when you add that to the mix, it makes our ADP, it makes your decisions during the draft so much more involved, more difficult.
Oh
So
yeah, big time.
yeah. So okay. Well, I just think that's interesting. I think this is just affirming my belief in that I don't want Aaron Jones in Dynasty owner personally. And so no, for the salary and then where you have to take him, I would just take somebody different. I don't know if I'd take AJ Dillon over him if it was in the spot where it would be appropriate to draft him. I might go another position. I might go a different point.
Oh
I might go a
yeah, yeah.
cheaper running back. I don't know. But I guess the fact that I faded Aaron Jones and not really even targeted him in anything that I've done recently, just it affirms that belief I have. So, but like my regular non-dynasty owner dynasty league, I'm keeping Aaron Jones because he's probably my second or third best. He's either my second or third best running back, depending on what you think of it. I have Derrick Henry in that league too, so he's my one.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things. If somebody offered me a younger running back, for Aaron Jones, I take that trade. I think I'd take that trade regardless of the format. So, all
Yeah.
right. So, see, we talked about Green Bay, and we didn't even talk about any of the rookie wide receivers or Aaron Jones. Well, you talked a little bit about Aaron Jones, but it was in context.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because don't you feel like the Green Bay wide receivers have gotten way more attention than any other set of wide receivers this whole training camp?
Oh yeah, definitely, and rightfully so. Though, I mean, you got such a good quarterback with Aaron Rodgers there, and just a hodgepodge of receivers to be to be friendly. You know,
Yeah,
but
hodgepodge was a kind word.
so I understand why, and then you just get the Romeo Doubs or however you say his last name, the hype, and then he scores a touchdown in his first two preseason games, so it just naturally grows, And so I
Yeah.
think a lot of it's just kind of because of that, but yeah, I'm definitely ready to put that to rest. I actually, you'll laugh whenever you read my article here in a little bit. Have something about the preseason hype and tired of hearing about the Packers.
Of course you do. I mean, Nate, when he wrote his week one takeaways article, and the first point on it, I think, was about Romeo
Yeah,
Dubes. So I mean, yeah, everybody. I mean, it used the big Twitter thing used to be Gabe Davis, like where
yeah,
to draft him and all that stuff. And now I think that like that's been that the way this is way this the tsunami has gone past this. I mean, nobody talks about Gabe Davis anymore. It's all Green Bay wide receivers. So, I mean, I can't scroll through my Twitter timeline without seeing something about the Green Bay wide receivers.
nope.
All right. So, topic 2, we've got. I want to talk about players that we're starting to pick up, and I'm not talking about players who are like very low owned or anything. The reason why this came up was you took a guy in our writers league that we're both in. It's a different league than the podcast league that we've created for our listeners here. It's a league you started last year for writers, and we have a few other dynasty owners too. And you picked up a guy who I honestly should have taken, and I don't know why I left him sitting there, because I was looking the other day for players. You grabbed Isaiah Likely from Baltimore. And he's rostered in 88.4% of dynasty owner leagues now. I don't know what it was before his 100-yard performance in the preseason. I have no idea what the number was there. But I was looking the other day in all my leagues for players, and how I missed this is beyond me. Congrats. That was a good pickup. But is there anybody else besides him that, like, because I'm not in all the same leagues as you. So is there anybody, did you pick him up in other places, or was it just the writers league? And is there anybody else who you're saying, oh my God, I got to get this guy now?
You know, it's funny. He's somebody that I was actually, I took at the end of the third round in a couple rookie drafts. Well, in two rookie drafts, and Bryce really, really liked him a lot. He played for I believe it was Eastern Carolina or
Coastal Carolina.
Coastal Carolina. And while I was down in Myrtle Beach,
that's where that is.
I drove by a Coastal Carolina sign, so I sent Bryce a picture of it. And we got to talking about Isaiah Likely, and I've been on him ever since. So this was just kind of the same thing. I let him slip through the cracks. Should have been on my roster a long time ago. And I was reminded of it, so I went through it just to make sure he wasn't available in any of the leagues, and he was sitting there, so I went and picked him up.
Good job. I mean, there's 12 of us in that league. 11 of us dropped the ball, and you didn't. Congrats.
So as far as players that I'm kind of targeting, there's really not many outside of like players that you can't get now, because they're so familiar now that they're just gone. But one name I've seen on there that he might be available in a few leagues is Geno Smith. I was high on Drew Lock. I didn't think there was any way in hell Geno Smith was winning this job, and it looks like Pete Carroll's dumb enough to give it to him. So so here we are. There's a quarterback sitting out there for like $3.5 million if you can go pick him up and just plug and play, trade them, do whatever you got to do to add some value to your roster.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, even if he's only the quarterback for a couple of weeks, or they flip flop or anything like that, for $3.5 million. Yeah. And I just looked, he's available in 22% of leagues right now. So he's not widely available, but if you need a third quarterback, because, you have a bench, you're obviously not going to start Geno Smith unless you're desperate. Something happens. But you need a bench. Week 6 comes along, and I had the week 6. Oh yeah, week 6 comes along, and say you've got Derek Carr as your starter, and you've got somebody, and you've got your backup is, I'm going to pick your backup quarterback is I don't want to pick Tua. Let's say Tua is your backup. Okay. And so you're like, okay, well, Derek Carr's done well the first 5 weeks. Now he's on bye. Tua is my starter for week 6 because he has a different bye week. But, oh, wait, what am I going to do? I need a bench. I only have 2 quarterbacks. Now I need a bench guy. If I carve my bench, I get 0. Geno Smith, $3.5 million. Hopefully you have that space. Yeah, you just kind of need to. I agree with you. That's a great pickup.
And Dynasty owners, not like you kind of mentioned in the beginning, it's not somewhere you can just go out and pick players up on a whim. Nobody has $30 million in cap space to go pick Carson Wentz up for a week, and then you got to use the amnesty provision to drop him if you do, and all that. So it's just not worth it. It's you got to have players like that, or even Drew Lock if he's there. Throw him on your bench for $1 million or $2, and maybe have a starting quarterback when the time comes.
Yeah, because you look at the quarterbacks who are available in most of the dynasty owner leagues. It's like Kirk Cousins, $33 million. Jared Goff, $33 million, I think. Carson Wentz, $32. Ryan Tannehill, $29.5. Those are the guys that are available. And Tom Brady's not available.
Even Jameis Winston and Baker Mayfield aren't available.
Of course. Baker might still be available, actually. I'd have to look. But he's $18 million. So, I mean, if he and Geno Smith are both available in your dynasty owner league, I'm not sure Baker's worth an extra $15 million. And I
Right.
guess if you got it, you could spend it. You don't get credit for not spending it, but I'd rather hang on to that money for somebody at a position when I need
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Baker is available in 20% of leagues.
he's available in 20% of leagues.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's about the same as Geno Smith right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, roughly. I mean, yeah. So, agree. I've got an under the radar guy, and I like him because I just think he's been okay. It's Demarcus Robinson. You know, he played with Kansas City and he was okay, nothing great. Then he moved to the Vegas, and then they waived him, and then he got signed immediately by Baltimore. And Baltimore needs receivers. I mean, they've got Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, who we've discussed before, and pretty much nobody else who's ever really caught a pass. I mean, people talk about how bad the wide receiver room is in Atlanta. It ain't much better in Baltimore.
Yeah.
You know, I know that's why people like Jeff the Champ are high on Rashad Bateman, but I don't know what Demarcus Robinson's salary is going to be. It was like 1.2 million. I'm assuming he's kind of going to sign a minimum veteran deal, and so it's going to be like under $1.5 million. But I think you should go as a speculative flyer. You go grab him if he happens to be the starter or the number 3 wide receiver, kind of like he was in Kansas City. I could do worse on my practice squad as like a couple week bench, as a bench week or 2 bye week replacement than that guy personally. And when I picked him up, he was rostered in under 10% of leagues. I'm not sure where he is right now, but I just think that that's somebody. If you've got room, even if you've got a low amount of salary cap, you know, he could get cut in 3 days for all I know, but it seems like a good opportunity. It seems like an opportunity that's out there, you know, and just by the speed of which Baltimore signed him tells me that they're like, we need more dudes here.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's funny that you mentioned him because the next guy I got here is another former Chiefs receiver. It's Byron Pringle for Chicago. He's slotted. He is slotted as the number 2 guy right now, opposite Darnell Mooney. And Darnell Mooney is not exactly proven. You know, he was kind of thought to be a deep ball guy for a little bit. He's developed into more of a natural receiver since then, but you know, somebody's got to be there to catch passes from Justin Fields. He's I've heard a lot of good things that he's maturing and looking a lot better and things like that. So if Byron Pringle goes out there and puts together a good preseason in camp and all that, I don't even really think he's played much this preseason. But he's very, very gifted athletically. He did well with the Chiefs. It was just they had so many people. The same with Demarcus Robinson. Like I always thought he was a solid receiver with the Chiefs, but just there was too many mouths to feed in that offense, and now we'll see kind of what they're really made of.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Totally agree. I was kind of surprised that once they got rid of Tyreek Hill that they didn't keep both of those guys.
Yeah.
At least one of them.
Yeah, whichever one they liked more. I was definitely expecting them to kind of re-sign a couple more, at least one more guy for familiarity reasons, and helping.
Yeah. Well, but
Patrick Mahomes.
Pringle's $4 million, and Demarcus signed a free. If I remember correctly, he's on like the veteran minimum salary. So you would think if they liked Demarcus a little bit, they could have given him a little bit more and kept him around. But we'll see. I just like Pringle, Chicago. I guess I'd rather have a guy catching. If I was going to choose between the 2 of those guys, I'd rather have Demarcus simply because it's $3 million less and a better quarterback. But if you want if you have a little more salary cap room, you want more of I'm not going to say a sure thing, but like more likely to play and get you points every week. I think you could probably go with Pringle.
Yeah, he's probably guaranteed more opportunity than Robinson, I would say, but you're paying $3 million for that opportunity.
Yeah, but if you've got it, I mean, this is why we always talk about don't draft up to 145 million in your startup draft because you can't pick up you can't. You know, in other leagues, you just go run to the waiver wire, bid for your fab, however much fab you want, or You're at 9. It's like 9 a.m. in 1 second, and you throw in that pickup for Byron Pringle, and you got him. Here in Dynasty Owner, you have to have $4 million in salary cap room, or else it's not going to let you grab. You're going to get it. Then nope, can't pick them up. Nope, sorry, you can't pick them up. You got to drop some. I got the message says something to the effect of like, you don't have the room. You can't do this move. Basically,
I've had
like
that way
drop
too
somebody.
many times.
drop somebody.
I don't even know what happened, but on one of my teams, I logged in today and it just said you are over the cap, and I haven't checked that team in maybe 4 or 5 days, so it could have happened a few days back, but just I was all of a sudden over the cap, so I had to drop somebody.
There's been a few salary increases. Guys like the Dallas kicker Brett Maher, who's also probably on this people you need to pick up. He had an $850,000 salary, and it went up to like $965,000. So if you were teetering on the edge, he might have taken you over. There's a few guys like that. They get dropped and then they get added, and the salary just moves around a tiny bit. And if you're skirting the edge, it could take you over.
Oh, I know who it was. Justin Jackson signing with Detroit.
Oh yeah, that was a little, yeah, because he was 570. He was rock bottom, and he signed the veteran minimum for now. How many years he's been in the league, which is like a little over $1 million. So that was like $450,000, I think. So yeah, that probably was what did it.
Yep, that's got to be it. He's the only one that got a new contract that I see.
Jay's got one of those situations that only happens in Dynasty Owner, because if this was a regular Dynasty league, you wouldn't have to worry about that. You just keep Justin Jackson.
Yeah. Yep. So I had to drop Jawan Johnson because of that. I cared.
Well, wow. He was week 1 or week 2 last year. He caught like a touchdown or two, and everybody was all over him. And he's like a converted wide receiver when we moved to tight end, and blah blah blah. And they have no pass catchers last year, and boy, did he do nothing.
Yeah.
Boy,
I didn't fall into the hype. He's not on my roster.
Okay. Well,
that's why
I had him in, I think, 2 Dynasty Owner leagues because he was cheap and it sounded really promising. But yeah,
I did as well.
Yeah, we all do. I mean,
yeah,
we all
gotta
do.
Follow the hype, right?
Then that could be DeMarcus Robinson. I'm hyping him up like this, and if in the 3rd preseason game he catches 5 passes for 52 yards, all of a sudden everybody and their grandmother will be on him, and
yeah,
you might have to bid $3 million Dynasty dollars or $4 million Dynasty dollars to get him. I got him for 1 because nobody was thinking about him. So we'll see. So, all right. So next, a similar topic, but these are just guys who are like, they shouldn't be on the waiver wire because they're or are what we call the free agent auction. A lot of places call the waiver wire, who are like 50% rostered or less. And I'll go first, and not that I really want to have him on my team, but if you need again, we're going back to the 3rd quarterback, 4th quarterback situation. Joe Flacco is available he's only rostered in like 26% of Dynasty Owner leagues, and he is $3.5 million. I mean, I don't believe that Zach Wilson's coming back for week 1. I'm sorry. I know they say he might or anything like that, but if you're the Jets and they have so much confidence in Joe Flacco, I got air quotes going because I'm not sure I buy that. But if you've got so much confidence in Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson's like your future, why do you rush him back to play week 1? Why don't you let him get healthy, get reps, practice, work out, get back in shape, and bring him back in like game 3 or 4?
Yeah, it's not like the Jets have playoff aspirations this year. I would think they can be somewhat honest with themselves and know that it's they have no shot. So why do that and risk injury to your franchise?
Oh no, that's what exactly. So if you have Zach Wilson on your team and Joe Flacco is available in your league, I mean, it's a $3.5 million handcuff backstop, whatever term you want to use for it. And you're hoping that you don't have to put him as your bench quarterback, but you could in a pinch if your other guy gets hurt, or you have you drafted Kenny Pickett, and turns out he's not the starter anymore. I mean, there's a multitude of reasons why you may use Joe Flacco. I mean, think about it. We have 12-team leagues. You start a starting quarterback and a bench quarterback. We're not a super flex or anything. You like to call it a 1.5 super flex.
Yeah.
So there's 24 quarterbacks who are going to earn points for dynasty owner teams, and there's 32 NFL teams. So already there's only 8 who aren't going to be used, and not a lot of people have Carson Wentz because he's expensive. Not a lot of people have Matt Ryan because he's expensive. You start picking off some of those quarterbacks who nobody has because they just can't afford to have him as their second quarterback, and suddenly you might need Joe Flacco in week 1.
Yeah, it's a situation I've dealt with before, and it's not a fun one. So don't find yourself there.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's a terrible place to be.
What, to have to play Joe Flacco?
Yeah, or Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold or somebody like that.
Oh my God, you can't start me on Daniel Jones, or I mean on Sam Darnold. That was my biggest mistake a couple of years ago. Biggest mistake. I can't even begin to describe how stupid that was. But yeah, so I mean, like I'm looking at like a Ryan Tannehill, like 20. He is rostered in 21% of leagues. So he's just not available, kids. Sorry to say. I mean, and we have a lot of players who are like rookie salaries or really cheap who are highly rostered. I mean, Carson Strong is rostered in 41% of dynasty owner leagues. I really doubt he's rostered in 4% of sleeper leagues.
Yeah. You're spot on there.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's what happens when you have an $850,000 salary. I mean, he might be the third quarterback. And if they trade Gardner Minshew to somebody who wants a quarterback, then he suddenly might be the number 2 quarterback.
Yeah. Yep.
So, who do you got? Joe Flacco is my guy on that list.
I'll stay with the quarterbacks here, and I'll see your Joe Flacco with Tyrod Taylor.
Who wins this poker hand?
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk about him getting reps with the first team, and with as bad as Daniel Jones just has been throughout his entire career, aside from the rookie year when he showed a little bit of promise, throwing like 26 touchdowns. He looked somewhat competent back then, but since then he's just basically trade him for a piece of garbage and nobody would notice. He's been that bad. So I really see a scenario where come week 3, Tyrod Taylor, Brian DeBole's just like, all right, the season's lost if I keep playing Daniel Jones. I got to go with something else. I think that's why we're already seeing Tyrod Taylor take first team reps. So it really wouldn't shock me. He's cheap. He's like $5.5 million. And you get a rushing quarterback. He's got tremendous athletic ability. He's going to pick you up some extra points on the ground and things like that. So if you got a couple extra $1 million sitting around, why not take a chance on Tyrod Taylor?
And I think their roster percentage is very similar in Dynasty. So, but I have a follow-up question to that. You don't think Joe Flacco has rushing upside?
Oh man, he's a statue. All statues, man. You put a number 18 Peyton Manning jersey on him, and people might get fooled.
Ow! Wow! Oh my God! I'm not sure we're allowed to. I don't think we're supposed to dump on players on this podcast, but wow, that was a big one on good old Joe Flacco. So, all right. Well, I mean. So basically, basically our 2 big waiver wire pickups are the potential starting quarterbacks for the New York football teams.
Yeah, there's the free agent auction right now is very, very thin. It'll liven up once we see some real games and know who has actual potential. But yeah, for now you're going to get names like this.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, if you put yourself in a situation where you might need a third quarterback, that's who's available. I mean, fair. Honestly, that's who's available. Dynasty leagues, people are drafting Desmond Ridder and Malik Willis in Dynasty leagues. I mean, if you're in a redraft league, people might not take those guys. But a dynasty league, who doesn't want Malik Willis?
Right.
You know, I mean, you pretty much know he's probably not playing this year, barring an injury or two. But he's got so much potential. He's so cheap in this league. Even a regular dynasty league, he could be a great. I mean, he could be Lamar Jackson in like 2 years.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want that? I mean,
100%.
Yeah, I mean, think about the way they drafted Lamar Jackson with the last pick in the first round, and everybody's like, why are they taking him? They've got Joe Flacco, and by the end of that first year, he was playing.
Yeah, it was his rookie year. He got some action, and now look at it. He's one of the more tantalizing quarterbacks in the league.
Oh, I know. I mean, they're trying to re-sign him. We'll see whether they do before the end of the year. Well, before the season starts, it'll be interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. But that's the same thing. Everybody was talking about that. I know Lamar had first round pedigree, whereas Malik Willis fell to like the third round. But at the same point, that's still it's tantalizing, and you can't think about that and not do something about it. So
yeah.
All right. Okay, so do we want to talk about the players we're worried about, or do you want to table that till next week? I've got one, and I've got one.
We can.
Okay.
I do have one more free agent though. I want to spit out there real quick.
Go for it. Yes, please.
No big long spiel or anything, but watch DJ Dallas. Both the Seattle running backs have been beat up pretty bad in Walker and Penny already, and we know what kind of injury history Penny's had throughout his career.
I just put up I went to the University of Miami in case people don't know, and I have a turnover chain that I just put up for Jay's benefit. That's why he laughed.
But he has looked really good this preseason so far, and I could see him getting some pass catching work. If one of those two bigger guys were to go down at any point in the season, and he's pretty cheap.
Yeah, he's under 100,000. He's under $1 million. So is it Travis Homer. But I think if you had I bet both of them aren't very widely rostered. I mean, you have
DJ Dallas is 59%.
Okay, what's Homer?
I have no idea. DJ Dallas has looked so good this preseason. I kind of have faded Homer completely, and I just feel like he'd be the one to emerge if it was going to be one of them two.
Well, back in college, DJ Dallas was much better than Homer. Homer was DJ's backup. Okay. And then DJ got hurt in college, and Homer played a lot and played well, but he was still his backup. So, I know that's a couple of years ago, but I think DJ Dallas is the more talented back as well. But honestly, if you've got two spots and you have like under $2 million, if you have $2 million in salary cap room and you have two spots and you're not sure and both of them are available, grab both. Yeah. I mean, it's not Homer. They both might have like 2 years left on their contract, or maybe Homer just has one. So, but it's not going to cost you much.
Right.
I mean, it's just not going to cost you much to kind of wrap that situation up. I mean, if I had Rashad Penny, not that I advocate having Rashad Penny, and somebody else had Kenneth Walker, I would have those guys. I would have one or both of those guys sitting on my practice squad, just because I would not be trusting Rashad Penny to be healthy for an entire year.
No, not at all.
You just can't. I mean, I don't think you can.
No, not at this point.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, very good. That's another good player, and it's somebody from the U. So I always like that. All right. So players we're worried about, and we're going to end on a downer because I'm very depressed about this. I'm worried about Russell Gage. He hasn't practiced in like 2 weeks. So I know Tom Brady was out for most of that time, whatever he was doing, Bahamas, Bermuda. Reports are he was in a family vacation. Some people said he was going to tape The Masked Singer. Who knows? Anyways. I'm worried about Russell Gage because he hasn't played with Tom very much. Who knows if they're going to play in the third preseason game? He got hurt in like practices with the Dolphins. And now I'm not banking on him all year, but I've been drafting him higher than his ADP and all this sort of stuff. And so I'm petrified about Russell Gage, frankly, at this point, at least for this year, because I was very confident about him this year because of Godwin being out and probably not being able to start the season, in his rapport with Tom, and Tom recruited him and all this stuff. And so if doesn't play, if he's hurt and gets put on IR and doesn't play like 4 games, I'm not sure I'm not happy about that. I mean, he might be my flex guy in a couple of leagues right at this point.
Yeah, when they went out and got Julio, that's when I kind of started to worry a little bit about him. It just when teams make that kind of signing, it means somebody on the roster hasn't shown them something, and he was just kind of the odd man out there. He was the new guy in town. He got a decent contract for what he's done throughout his career. He hasn't, he's never been a featured wide receiver. He blew up at the end of last season, and it made him $10 million, and good for him. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's at this point you're right. You're right to be worried. But at the same time, it's Tom Brady. If he likes him, he likes him. We'll find out week 1.
Yeah, but the reason why I'm worried is that he hasn't had much time to find out if he likes him.
Yeah.
They haven't dated very much. They haven't dated very much. So, Tom might have gone out on a few dates with Julio and like him better now.
Yeah, Tom and Russell are gonna have to skip dinner and go straight to the bedroom if you want to have any luck.
Wow. Russell's gonna have to put out for Tom, is what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Okay. That took a dark turn. So I'm worried. I'm more worried about that if that has to happen for Russell. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I want that. So, anyways, but I thought Julio was more of a signing because they weren't happy. They weren't happy with their tight end catch passes, and they just knew that they couldn't. I thought that it was more that they didn't want to rely on Brait, Rudolph, and Cade Otton at this point, and so to kind of have Julio at the start of the season before Gronk makes his triumphant return. So, it could be a lot of other people thought that it was bad news for Russell Gage but we'll see. I'm worried. Mark me officially as worried on that. So you have a guy you're worried about, and especially because I own him in a bunch of places. So that's kind of why I'm amped up on the worries. Is there anybody that you have worries about that you have in a lot of places?
Yeah, Ronald Jones. I wasn't like crazy high on him or anything going into the season, but I thought he had a real shot at being the Chiefs' like lead runner. Maybe not in pass catching situations, but as they're kind of how Tampa used Ronald Jones, just a pure runner. I thought he had a real shot at that role, and now they're talking about him maybe not even making the roster. So it's pretty worrisome for his career moving forward. I've always thought he was a pretty talented back. I'm not too sure. I don't know if maybe he just doesn't work hard. I haven't heard any reports about anything, but it seems like no matter where he's at, he falls out of favor, even though he produces when he's on the field.
Yeah, no, you're right. He first never was a favorite of Bruce Arians, definitely. So, and it might be the same thing with Andy Reid. We'll see. So, I would if I had Ronald Jones anywhere, I'd be worried. The good part, well, if there's a good part about it, it's that it only costs you $1.5 million to draft him or keep him. So your investment in him is, and it's only 1 year. It's a 1 year deal, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your investment in him is low, but still, if he's somebody you were thinking as like one of your bench running backs, maybe start him when people are on buys and stuff like that, that kind of ruins your plans.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Well, the last thing we need to talk about is we need to remind people, in case you missed it at the beginning, is contest. Justin Jefferson signed jersey, one winner, enter by September 7th. You can have one entry for name and email, and there's bunches of ways you can get up to 10 entries by just following Dynasty Owner, following this podcast, following the Champions podcast, following Dynasty Owner on YouTube. You can get up to 10 entries into a contest. And the Friends promo code FRIENDS, use your referral code if you're a Dynasty owner. If you're not a Dynasty owner, find somebody who is and get them to refer you. You'll get $10 off your team if you're new. If you refer the person, you're the current Dynasty owner, you get $10. And if you get 10 people to join, you get a free team for life, and $100 and a free team for life. And like Jay said, which didn't even think about it, you could you could take that $100, join $100 cash prize pool league, and parlay that till that would get you $600 if you won that league, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
you're
if you,
looking at almost a decade of completely free fantasy football buy-in and all.
yeah, I mean, exactly. So if you are confident in your abilities in Dynasty Owner and have people who want to play and compete against you, back that up and do that. I mean, yeah, you could be on this you could be listening to this podcast in 2032 and still be rolling in Dynasty in dough for that. It's true, you could.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
100%.
yeah. So I mean, hey, do that up. Do that
Oh,
up.
a quick little fun thing before we go. Did you hear that Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski should have been Raiders?
I did. I don't know if I believe
This
that.
came straight out of Rob Gronkowski's mouth, and the UFC president Dana White admitted to it as well in his press conference. He said he brokered the deal. He was mad when it didn't happen. Tom Brady was mad when it didn't happen. But I don't see why. I don't know why Rob Gronkowski would just bring that up randomly when he was talking to the UFC president. So I'm buying it. I'm in on it. I feel like they should have been Raiders, but I don't know.
I've got my skeptical face going because I mean, first of all, they were promoting a UFC fight, so of course, and
And it
Gronk
was
was
in
somehow involved in that. I don't know
the
how. I don't pay
the
attention to
UFC
UFC
fight
enough.
was in Salt Lake City though. It wasn't in Vegas or anything like
But I mean,
that.
but maybe that's why because they needed attention for this. No, I'm
Oh
not.
no, sure. The UFC's sold out like 70 fights in a row now. They don't need
No,
their
I don't know. I'm not. I know nothing about that. I did win some money in DraftKings in a free UFC
Yeah,
contest one
heck
time.
yeah.
I won like $3 in a free contest because I just guessed on people. You know,
There
you
you
just
go.
salary cap. I just guessed on fighters, and I did very well. Never
Yeah.
paying for anything because I have known nothing.
Well,
But
yeah,
you know,
I follow the UFC pretty closely. The Dana White's not a guy that typically makes up bullcrap stories like that. He's a pretty honest guy from everything I've ever seen from him.
okay,
I definitely believe it.
okay. I mean, I don't know. I know the definite story that was real was the Dolphins
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
trying to get Brady because I mean their owner got fined and didn't he get suspended too?
Yeah, he's not allowed at so many games or whatever like that matters for
Yeah,
him. But
yeah. I mean, but so yeah, I mean he does that and gets like suspended for a bunch of games. Meanwhile, Daniel Snyder here in Washington, like, is all he had to do was relinquish control to his wife. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure they never discussed the Washington state of affairs or anything like that.
right, yep.
Yeah, I'm sure that they don't chat. They don't chat over the dinner table. Although, why do I have a picture of like one of those cartoon dinner tables that they sit at, where like he's on one end and she's on the other end, and there's like 1,000 feet of dining room table between the two of them?
Like a Vladimir Putin table.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, he
Is that
sits just in any conference he's 1,000 feet away from anybody. It's he's got to be at massive tables. It's funny.
no? I think like it's in if you see it's in cartoons and stuff like
I know
that.
what you're
Like
talking about.
like
Yeah,
it's in the Incredibles when like Mr. Incredible's having dinner with
yeah,
the girl and like the table's like he can't even see her barely. I mean, it's like
yeah.
that. That's how I envision the Snyder's dining room table is like that cartoonish length. So, anyways, all right, that's a good way. That's a good way to finish. You got in. Give them your Twitter, Jay.
At J Pounds NFL.
Okay, and I'm at StevieT33. Dynasty owner is at Dynasty_owner and www.dynastyowner.com if you want to check us out. Do a mock draft, learn how to do it. Maybe you'll get some other people in one and check us out. It's fun. We love it. So thanks for listening. Have a great day, everyone. We'll talk to you next week.
See ya.